concept of sanctuary cities was first brought into the national spotlight when 32-year-old Kate Steinle was fatally shot in the back by a criminal illegal immigrant from Mexico, an immigrant who'd previously been deported from the United States 5 different times. The reason Kate Steinle's killer, a man by the name of Francisco Sanchez, was able to return to the United States time and time again is sanctuary city laws, which are in outright defiance of federal immigration laws. Take a look.
45-year-old Francisco Sanchez was deported 5 times after committing 7 felonies, but he made his way back to the sanctuary city of San Francisco and murdered 32-year-old Catherine Steinle. Here's his confession.
Did you shoot Kate Steinle, the lady who was down on Pier 14?
Yes.
Feds say this tragedy could have been prevented if they had been notified of the suspect's release. Sanchez said he kept returning to San Francisco because he knew there would be no effort to deport him there.
The system failed my sister in so many ways. Kate was the most amazing, beautiful person inside and out. She was loving. She looked at the world through the eyes of a child.
Sanctuary city law prohibits local officials, such as law enforcement, from asking someone about their immigration status, from reporting on that immigration status to federal authorities, or from working with authorities to deport illegal individuals. Supporters of sanctuary city laws say they allow for these illegal immigrants to report crime when they see it without the threat of deportation, but that's just not how it's working out. Joining me now is President of Federation for American Immigration Reform, Dan Stein. Dan, thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
Dan, there are 340 sanctuary cities across the United States. It blows my mind that it's that number. But how is it possible that cities can enact laws that violate federal law?
Well, it's only possible because we are a nation divided. We have, on one hand, mostly Republicans and Republican voters and really voters nationally who want immigration laws enforced. They expect the federal government and state and local governments to work seamlessly. If somebody is identified being here illegally, state and locality should be turning those folks over to the executive branch, to DHS in Washington, and they take them into custody and put them into deportation proceedings. If an alien is here illegally and then commits a crime, normally after conviction, after the time is served, the federal authorities issue what's called a detainer, and the alien would then be turned over to immigration authorities to put in proceedings and then taken out of the country. But unfortunately, things have changed. The Democratic Party has essentially adopted a power policy position. It's a power grab that says, doesn't matter whether you're here legally or illegally. If you go into these various states or counties, we're going to set up a system whereby they're calling it sanctuary, but basically it's like nullification, like the old Civil War, slavery, pro-slavery position that says we're going to stand between the federal government and our state, and we're actually going to sanction, harbor, provide protection and taxpayer benefits to people here illegally. And they're saying we dare the federal government to actually come in and deport these aliens who've come here illegally.
So essentially then, and this is just to clarify both for me and for our viewers, the part that they're violating is their cooperation with the federal government, or what are they doing that's illegal by federal standards?
Under federal law, it is illegal to harbor, shelter, or encourage or reward illegal aliens in furtherance of their illegal conduct. So if you're an individual and you actually provide safe harbor, if you provide food, shelter, knowing somebody's here illegally, if you smuggle them in, transport them, you're committing a felony, harboring. Well, the whole city is basically saying we're going to do what we can to try to prevent federal authorities from identifying illegal immigrants here. And make no mistake, this has spread all over the country because the Obama administration has taken a basic fundamental position that says, if you're here illegally and you don't commit a serious crime or you're not a terrorist, we don't care, we're going to let you stay. That, of course, is not federal law. That's not what the American people or Congress have said. And it's with the complicity of the federal government, the Obama administration, that state after state and city after city have passed these non-cooperation resolutions that basically say, if we find out somebody's here illegally, we're not going to turn them over to federal authorities.
Right.
If federal authorities issue what's called a detainer, if they issue a detainer, and this is the case with Kate Steinle, they're not going to honor the detainer. They're just going to let the alien go free, even though they're deportable. And this is a huge threat to the whole integrity of whether, as a nation state, we have an immigration law that functions.
Right, but that's not how it's ending up turning out. It's not protecting the immigrants, the illegal immigrants who haven't done anything wrong, who are contributing to society. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dan. It seems like it's protecting those who are arrested, serve time, then they're released and they're back in the midst of our society and able to commit crimes like the murder of Kate Steinle.
Well, these tragedies that happen where aliens are deported and then they come back in, or aliens who commit crime who ought to be deported and are not, are a function of a lack of resolve and resources that we've seen from this administration for 7.5 years. The Obama administration has done nothing since 2008 but try to dismantle and destroy U.S. immigration controls. That whole argument that, well, you can't deport illegal aliens because they have to go to the police if somebody commits a crime. What you're doing is creating a swamp of illegality. You are promoting small felonies, small misdemeanors that become bigger and bigger ones. And by encouraging law breaking and rewarding it, you're setting up for things like the Kate Steinle murder. You are breeding a lawless contempt for lawlessness that actually creates one felony after another. Fraudulent IDs, failure to file taxes, misdemeanors, public drunkenness, whatever you name it. By not enforcing immigration laws, you are creating a house of cards of illegality that's spreading throughout the land.
Right, and the Obama administration wants to create more laws, but they don't want to enforce the existing ones that are on our books. Now, the highest profile individual isn't even in politics, theoretically, who's advocated to change sanctuary city laws. That's Bill O'Reilly. He advocated for Kate's law after the murder of Kate Steinle, but Senate Democrats opposed it. Dan, what was in it that caused them to oppose it?
Well, basically because the Democrat Party has put itself directly in opposition to U.S. immigration law. I mean, when you saw Barbara Boxer and Dianne Feinstein vote against the Senate version, Matt Salmon has the version in the House, when you saw them vote against it, even California basically thumbing their nose at Kate Steinle's family and all the Americans who've been victims of crime by aliens who should have been deported. This is, sanctuary goes back to the Bible. The idea was that the church would provide sanctuary to prevent private revenge by private parties. The concept was then stolen by immigration advocates to try to destroy U.S. immigration law and U.S. immigration law enforcement. The people who are pushing the sanctuary movement are people who are actually pushing to destroy U.S. borders and U.S. immigration enforcement. This is a very serious threat to U.S. sovereignty and our nation's ability to control illegal immigration. Make no mistake about it, Kate's law would assess mandatory minimum penalties for people who re-enter after deportation while taking away funding from jurisdictions that refuse to comply with federal immigration law. Again, Republican leadership needs to be stronger. And that's why in this election it's so important that voters hear about this issue, because you have now two parties that have very different opinions. And Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, they're talking about the importance of enforcing these laws. And you listen to Hillary Clinton, you listen to Bernie Sanders, they basically don't care if illegal aliens come illegally, violate the law, and then commit a whole bunch of felonies or misdemeanors, even associated with them being here illegally. And this is a huge decision point for this country. 2016 means, are we going to go basically and we're going to have 8 more years of Barack Obama's anarchy, and border chaos? Or are we going to go a different direction as a country?
Right, and what the Democrats do, you said it better than I could say it, what the Democrats do is they misrepresent the issue. They make it seem like it's about illegal immigrants who are not physically harming other people, who are here operating under the laws. Once they violated the law to enter, they're operating under our laws. They're contributing to our society. No mention of the criminal aliens like we discussed earlier that are committing crimes. Dan, we're almost out of time. I want to ask you one last thing. Donald Trump has promised to defund sanctuary cities. Is that a realistic promise?
It's a realistic promise if the Republican leadership hangs together and is willing to do what needs to be done. Look, we can't go down this path of illegality. People who come illegally have to commit other violations of law to stay here. And it's not a matter of, well, I just broke the law one time. If you're here illegally, there's ongoing law breaking associated with being here illegally, failure to file tax returns, fraudulent IDs. It is rampant illegality. And there's no real clear demarcation. We're either going to be a nation that has immigration laws and limitations or not. The law does not say if you don't come here and commit a dangerous felony, even if you're here illegally, you get to stay. That's not what Congress and the American people have ever said. We have limits.
Right, and that's what the Obama administration is trying to push us towards. Dan,